us what the weather's like. Tell us what the weather's like. Won't you please? Won't you please? What's the weather like?
Sunny.
Early intervention.
You think it's sunny out?
It can take many forms.
Or add some of the vocabulary. Let's go down, just like
Nathan, let's go down. Come down to see Mommy.
Go see Mommy.
Come see Mommy. Let's go down.
If your child has a hearing loss, early intervention may include providing you with informational and emotional support, fitting your baby or young child with hearing aids.
Owen. There. Good fella.
Or helping you encourage your child's speech and language development. As a parent, it's important to know that even a mild hearing loss can affect your child's speech and language development. If your child can't hear certain sounds, he or she may have difficulty understanding speech and learning to talk. Although some hearing problems can be medically or surgically treated, others may require the use of listening devices, such as hearing aids or cochlear implants. Newborn hearing screening programs now make it possible to identify a hearing loss early, giving you the opportunity to access early intervention as soon as a concern is identified.
Low. Blowing on the flower. Low, Nathan.
Under IDEA, or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, all states offer supports and services for children with various disabilities. For those that qualify, support is available to children under the age of 3 and can begin at birth if needed. Linda Goodman, who is Director for Connecticut's Early Intervention System, explains.
The law allows states to customize the system to suit local needs. Therefore, the agency that administers the system will differ from state to state, and in fact, eligibility may differ among states. Children with moderate to profound hearing loss in both ears are almost always automatically eligible for early intervention services. And in some states, children with mild losses or losses in one ear only are also eligible. The job of the early intervention team is to help the family determine the individuals who will be involved in helping to achieve the desired outcomes for the child and family, as well as the locations that are best suited for working towards those outcomes. Locations will include the activities and routines and places that are best suited for helping any child learn and develop.
Thank you.
And I'll help you if you make a mistake or whatever.
Early intervention for a child with a hearing loss can take many forms. Debbie Richards is a speech pathologist who serves as a regional manager within Connecticut's early intervention system. Debbie talks about what parents should expect from early intervention.
Everything we do is based on the family's priorities. So what is the priority for one family will be very different for the priority for another family. We really look at our relationship with a family as a partnership. So we collaborate around families' needs, child's needs. Families know their children best. Even if you have a child with a hearing impairment, if you don't know anything about hearing impairment, you know about your child.
Well, that's okay, even if it doesn't. I don't care.
You don't care if it doesn't?
No.
The first step in the early intervention process is to find out what supports and services are available in your community. Yaniris Aziz and her husband have 2 sons with significant hearing losses. Joshua, who was identified at the age of 15 months, and Jamal, who was identified at birth. Yaniris comments.
Find the best for them, even though, it's hard to have a child with disability, but a lot of help is outside for them. Only you have to do is ask. About my understanding English, they right away find me people to speak my language, Spanish. Having a people speaking my language at the time with all of the question I have at that time, make me feel like I'm not alone.
Hola, Sandy. Buenos días, ¿cómo estás?
Nanette Serrano, an early interventionist and mother of a child who is deaf, explains.
I think for parents it's just so frustrating because they've gone through this whole medical process where all this terminology is being thrown at them. And sometimes it's so confusing. Decibels, hearing loss, severe, profound. I mean, those are words that are just kind of garbled, and parents are just so, at this point of their lives, they're just so overwhelmed with feelings and their emotions that they just don't understand. And I think that's very, very important for parents to understand what it is a hearing loss. What does deaf mean? Because really, most hearing parents don't know what a hearing loss is or what deafness is all about.
Look over here. Look.
If your child has a hearing loss that requires the use of hearing aids, the ear mold is usually the first part to be made. The ear mold, which frequently has to be remade as your child's ears continue to grow, directs sound from the hearing aid into the ear. The hearing aid is an amplification device that makes sounds louder. By amplifying sound, the hearing aid helps your child to hear speech and environmental sounds with greater ease. Pediatric audiologists, who are key members of the early intervention team, will fit and adjust the hearing aids and continue to monitor your child's progress with amplification. The audiologist, as well as other team members, will help you feel comfortable with the hearing aids and, as your child's needs change, introduce you to the latest developments in ear mold, hearing aid, and cochlear implant technology.
The ear mold would be straight like this. And what they found is that with
It's overwhelming to us sometimes just to keep up with the technology. So if you think learning how to use your VCR or learning how to use your microwave oven is difficult, you start talking about some really wonderful technology. We're excited about it, but it does take support, information, and training as to how do we use this stuff? When do I use it? Where do I use it? And how do I use it with my baby?
Individualized Family Service Plan, which is our plan for...
One of the first ways the early intervention staff will support your family is through an individualized family service plan, or what is commonly referred to as an IFSP.
That's where we sit down and we talk about families' needs, priorities, what resources we have, what resources they have, and then we set our goals or our outcomes. From there, we implement those goals and outcomes. We develop strategies, and then we assess the progress towards reaching those goals or outcomes.
good listening. That's good, and that's what we want to be looking for.
Early interventionists will address any concerns you may have about your child's language development and help you find a communication method that works best and makes the most sense for you and your child.
Usually, we are looking at multiple ways of moving forward with the child's developing communication system. So we'll talk about how is the child going to understand what people are saying to that child, or we refer to that as their receptive language. And then we talk about how is the child going to express him or herself. Again, we'll look at sound production. We'll look at the child's ability to distinguish different sounds and how they're going to produce those sounds. And we will look at the child's technology and how that relates to their sound production. Then we move forward with the family to make decisions about, are there additional ways that the child should communicate? That could take the form of simple gestures. It could be a very formal system, such as sign language, American Sign Language, or total communication, using speech and gestures together.
In selecting a communication mode, most parents find it helpful to talk to other parents who have been through a similar decision-making process. Depending upon your priorities, the early intervention staff can help you find the people, resources, and support you and your family need.
I think it's really important for parents to educate themselves to the different modes of communication that are out there, and that they feel comfortable with the mode of communication they've chosen for that child. and to empower themselves. There's just so much out there. There's books, there's videotapes, there's websites now. How many parents call me and they say, I just found a website and I found out this information. There's just so much information out there. And I feel if we empower parents to learn what's out there and to educate themselves, then they'll make better decisions for their child.
If American Sign Language is your language of choice, it's very natural for you to communicate with your child through the use of hand signs, natural gestures, and facial expressions. American Sign Language has its own rules of grammar and syntax, and one in which babies use their eyes to learn language. Louisa Soboleski, who is a teacher and mother of 2, comments on the use of sign language with a baby.
I strongly believe that you start with day 1. The sooner the better. And it really depends on the child. Every child is an individual, and their response time will vary. But we notice that if you start signing at day 1, they will respond earlier. Just like when we speak to our babies, we say the same things over and over, and they end up repeating what we speak. And we've seen children respond as early as 9, 10, 11 months old, up to a year old. They will respond back in sign.
The use of sign language can be an effective way to help your child develop language skills. Depending upon the individual needs of your child and family, sign language can be combined with a spoken language. This method is known as total communication. For parents who decide to use this approach, early interventionists will help you and your child communicate through sign language, speech, natural gestures, and your child's own amplification devices. If you're not familiar with sign language, learning a new language may be a challenge.
On the branch, because this is like the branch of the tree.
I tell parents not to be frightened. What I do is I give them a list, and we practice like 5 words a week. And then the following week, we work on 5 other words. And what I do is I always ask the parents, what are the words you need to know so you communicate better with your child this week? So they kind of think back, they go, oh, I remember he got frustrated because he wanted a cookie and I didn't know what a sign for the cookie, so I'll go cookie. So I think that's really important to let parents know that it's not easy, but they can do it. I always say you can do it, and if they feel comfortable doing it, and then their child is going to feel comfortable doing it.
With auditory oral and auditory verbal communication, a child learns to talk by listening with amplification. If an auditory communication approach is chosen, sign language is not used. As a parent, this means putting the emphasis on creating experiences that will encourage your child's speech production and language development. Since your child will learn to listen and understand speech through amplified hearing, you will be encouraged to have your child wear amplification during all waking hours. The early intervention staff will work closely with you and your child to ensure that language learning and development occur within everyday activities, routines, and places.
One of the things we find is parents really are looking for support from other parents. They want to meet other parents who have infants or toddlers, who have experienced finding out that your child has a hearing impairment. What was that process like? How did that feel? Where did you gather your information?
To know that somebody else went through it and had all the same feelings that you did. And it's like, I don't know, it's like you relieved so much of my pressure just speaking with you on the phone.
It's just, it's a friendship right off the bat. It's just...
And to see how other parents have coped, and like Christina said earlier, and my audiologist has said, you know, with Owen, we're very accepting of the hearing loss because we've been through it, but it doesn't make it any easier to take, you know, even the second time around, and to realize that you have to mourn that loss. And when you speak to every parent remembers, you know, where they were when they were told, and how you felt, and knowing that you're not alone in that feeling.
And I think the other thing is those little hints. My audiologist and my doctors can tell me medically what to do. But like I was asking you, what do you do in the summer when you go to the beach? those little hints that sometimes maybe a parent has an idea. How do you make bath time fun since they can't wear their hearing aids? What else can you do? And a lot of parents who've been through it may have some ideas that can help you with those little questions that you have.
Support, it's just been great. Sandra, every day.
Parent-to-parent support is a very effective way for parents to help one another. As you ask questions and share information, you will become more familiar with the early intervention process, and in turn, learn to become your child's best advocate.
And the most important thing is to do everything you can to make it better and make their lives more productive and to be just like everybody else and be accepted.
And be an advocate for your
Yes.
child.
Exactly.
Because they can't talk to us. They can't tell us what they want. So we definitely have to be an advocate for them.
And advocate for them, from equipment to doctor's appointments to their educational plans. It's constant.
And like you said, learn as much as you can learn. Go to seminars and get information. Here's your ball.
Likes your book?
Newborn hearing screening programs now make it possible to identify a hearing loss early, giving you the opportunity to access early intervention shortly after your baby is born. If your child has a hearing loss, find out what's available in your community. Access the early intervention supports and services you and your child may need. And most importantly, enjoy your child.